Hi, everybody. Peter Greenberg here with our weekly global travel update for the second Wednesday in May of 2024. Hope you're having a great time wherever you happen to be. Let me tell you where I'm sitting right now. I'm in the sitting room of the George Eastman House in Rochester, New York. Remember Eastman Kodak? This is an amazing location, 8.5 acres of this estate, and of course, an amazing museum. And right behind me, you see Mr. Eastman, but I have a little surprise for you today before we get into questions and answers. I'm wearing these special gloves because the curators were nice enough to let me play and present with you things I grew up with, like this. Anybody remember this? The original 1933 Brownie camera that was developed for the World's Fair. How cool is that? But wait, there's more. I know some of you might be old enough to remember this. The Brownie Hawkeye, the Bakelite plastic, right? 1958. I grew up with this one. And then one that was the prototype of the Brownie I grew up with from 1940. Look at this beauty. The Baby Brownie. All Bakelite. Really beautiful. And so much more to see here. There is a Kodak company, not what it was when we grew up, but an amazing museum here and stuff that really tells the story of America when you think about it. There's another museum here that you have to visit in Rochester. It's the Strong National Museum of Play, and they're not kidding. It celebrates play, the world's largest collection of toys. And they even have a National Toy Hall of Fame, a National Video Game Hall of Fame, and I got to revisit some of the toys I grew up with. Now, I'm not just talking about like Monopoly or Chutes and Ladders or Sorry. I'm talking about things like knock hockey. Anybody remember knock hockey? And of course, all the video arcade machines are in there too, but it's a massive location and their artifacts, their collection, they could have a rotating exhibit for the next 20 years. And it's interactive. What a great place to relive your childhood, or for some of us, so to just duplicate it. So in any case, that's where we are. You notice I've taken the gloves off now. No more gloves, but we are going to take the gloves off and talk about the news. And then I'll get to some of your questions. The FAA situation with Boeing keeps getting worse. Let's recap. We have an NTSB investigation of the Boeing 737 MAX about the door panel that blew off back in January of this year. We have a Department of Justice criminal probe of Boeing that has just been restarted. And we have an FAA investigation, of course, of the 737 in terms of their inspection and oversight at Boeing. And now this week, another FAA investigation announced on the 787 Dreamliner with more whistleblowers coming forward. And of course, I am not a conspiracy theorist, but two of the whistleblowers that have come forward in recent weeks have died. We don't know anything more at that point or at this point. Obviously, the investigations continue, but there are more whistleblowers about to come out, which means we have to vet their claims. It also means get ready for more hearings on Capitol Hill. The assembly line at Boeing hasn't moved faster at all, obviously. We're seeing airlines canceling routes left and right based on what we're trying to support with enough planes for this summer. American Airlines has already canceled some of their routes to Europe. United Airlines is probably not going to announce a couple of new routes because they literally do not have the planes to support them. And we're seeing Southwest Airlines pulling out of 4 cities in the United States. Again, shortage of planes. Airfares are going to continue to go up. I mentioned this last week. I'll repeat it because we thought international airfares might go up about 10% this year. They're going up about 17 to 18%. I took a look just to give you a cost comparison. I looked at an airfare from Atlanta to Johannesburg nonstop on Delta Airlines. What do you think business class is? You better fasten your seatbelt. $16,000. That is not a ticket. That's a Toyota. And it gets worse on domestic flights because we originally were projecting, and we had every reason to believe we were right, that domestic airfares would actually fall this year, anywhere from 12 to 16%. Well, with the shortage in the supply chain with Boeing and not enough planes coming online, guess what? Even though the planes are all full, airfares are going nowhere but up, and domestic airfares may go up between 14 and 16% this year. They're already going up. So it's going to be a tough summer. Now, has that affected anybody yet? Apparently not, because every plane is full. I mean, every plane is full. And we're just in May. So get ready. September might be the best month to travel now. It usually is anyway, because the summer is going to be a madhouse. And of course, that also affects hotels. The State Department this week increasing their security alert, a travel advisory to a level 2 for Germany. When was that ever happening? Because of threats of terrorism activity. And you can, and what is a level 2 for those of you who don't remember? The State Department has 4 levels of travel advisories. And I think it's kind of silly, but I'll repeat them for you. Level 1 is travel with normal caution. I still have no idea what that means. Level 2, travel with increased caution. They have that for the Bahamas. They have that for Germany now. That means travel with increased caution. Basically means situational awareness, I hope. It shouldn't mean you shouldn't go. Level 3, which was instituted a couple of weeks ago in Jamaica, is reconsider travel. And for most Americans, that means you're a barricaded suspect in Cleveland. You're not going anywhere. And then level 4 is do not travel. Now, remember, these are State Department advisories. They're not rules. They're not regulations. They're not laws. They're not outright bans. They're advisories. And my suggestion to you, as you're planning your summer trips, with the exception of certain places that you already know you're not going to go, you're not going to Syria, you're not going to go to Gaza, you're not going to go to Chechnya or Yemen. But with some of those exceptions out of the way, for everything else on your list, why don't you do something that's intelligent? Don't just look at the State Department advisory, although I encourage you to read them. Also look at the advisories sent by the British Foreign Office to their citizens. I actually happen to think they do a better job. And then last but not least, I won't say there's not, but there are very few countries that don't have published in those countries an English language newspaper, which you can easily access online. Go back and read the last 3 to 4 weeks of those papers, and then make your own informed, intelligent decision as to where you're going to go. Depending just on a U.S. State Department advisory, to me, is a lost leader. I don't do it, and I hope you won't either. Expand your horizons, get 2 other sources, British Foreign Office, American language newspapers, then make up your mind. Okay? So there's that one. Also, I want to share with you a little fun story. Last week, we talked about some baggage statistics about which airlines misplaced and mishandled the most bags for 2023. The stats just came out. Number 1 of misplaced and mishandled bags was United Airlines, followed by American Airlines. And guess who was the lowest mishandled bag? It was Southwest. Ironically, the one airline that doesn't charge you to check bags. But I got a better one for you this week, and you can't make this up. There's an airport in Osaka in Japan. It's called Kansai. I've been there. Great airport. They have a record that no one's been able to match. Get ready for this. In the last 30 years, the airport there has not lost a single bag. Wow. I think we should all move there, or at least fly there. How about that? 3 cheers for the Japanese. Talk about Japanese efficiency. In 30 years, they haven't lost a single bag, and that's a big airport. Wow. Lessons to be learned and applied, I would think. Okay. Now, let's talk about 2 or 3 other things. First of all, before I get to your questions, Travel Detective Season 9 is airing now. And of course, we have 8 episodes every season. So if you get a chance, I hope you get a chance to watch it either on PBS or on Amazon, Apple TV, or coming later this year, YouTube. But just to give you a little teaser, here's a little preview of episode 1. This week on The Travel Detective, it's known for thoroughbred racetracks and some of America's top bourbon distilleries. But I'm going to take you off those 2 trails and share with you some of my hidden gems of Lexington, Kentucky. That's our cover story. Plus, some sobering statistics. America's most dangerous roads when it comes to DUIs. And then, shore excursions with a touch of salt. correspondent Arnie Weissman introduces us to an innovative cruise trend about food and culture that's truly immersive. I'm Peter Greenberg. All this and more on the next edition of The Travel Detective on PBS. Check your local listing. Well, that last shot, by the way, of me at the organ, that was done in Lexington, Kentucky, in a small little lounge that nobody knows about. It's only open one night a week, called TD's. And this is an amazing guitar player who played with all the greats. And he jams in there every Monday night. You just got to know a guy to get in. And he let me not only get in, he let me jam with the group. It was a great experience. So check that out. Again, Travel Detective Season 9, Episode 1, airing now. And we'll give you more updates in the days and weeks to come. All right. Here's one for you. Which U.S. city has the most polluted air? Right? In the post-pandemic world, we still want to breathe well. All right, here it is. And you'll see a linkage here. There's a common thread. The most polluted cities in the United States: Coraopolis, Pennsylvania; Forest Park, Georgia; Cave Junction, Oregon; a place called Happy Camp, California; and Adrian, Michigan. Small towns that are probably trapped in a vortex of wind or lack of and air movement that qualify as the most polluted cities in America. Now, interesting surprise. Which is the largest city in America with the least polluted air? It's not San Francisco. It's not Portland. It's not Seattle. It's not Maine. I mean, you ready? Las Vegas. I mean, they're a beneficiary of their geography. So who knew? All right, that's that statistic. Now, let's go and say hello to some people here. Here we go. Freya's saying hello from Chicago. I'll be there next week, by the way. Patrick's saying good morning from home in LA. Patrick, who travels everywhere, is actually finally home. All right. Matthew's saying, visit the Toy Hall of Fame in Rochester. Oh, I was just there. It's unbelievable. That's the National Museum. That's the Strong Museum. It's unbelievable. And the games that I grew up with, the games that you grew up with, are all there. And amazing stuff. All right. Where do we have here? Oh, I see this. Let's go back down here. Colleen saying hello from Bern in Switzerland. This place is amazing, especially the people. Do you know much red tape I have to cut through to move here for 6 months of each year? In Switzerland, yeah, red tape. They're one of the few countries that have not exactly gone to digital nomads. I'll tell you a funny story about Bern. A couple of years ago, my very first visit to Bern, I came in by train, and I was met at the train station by a bear, because Bern means bear. And that was a guy in a bear uniform, right? They thought that was a cute way to welcome me. But then you know what they did? They took me into the zoo in Bern and gave me a shovel. And what do you think I was shoveling? Yeah, bear crap. But it's still a beautiful city. I had fun with that. Gene's saying hi from Tulsa. Hello, Gene. Melanie says, just back from 2 weeks in London, returning to Miami Airport is so embarrassing. We know people are struggling with their hand luggage on escalators. Lifts and SkyTrain are all broken, plus wait times and immigration. We're bad with global entry kiosks broken too. I feel bad. This is the first impression people get when they get to. I agree with you. I just met with a lot of the TSA people and a lot of DHS people and a lot of Customs and Border Protection people. And Miami is ground zero for trying to change things. You know, here's what's crazy. We need a system that allows either our visitors to this country or us returning home to be able to land, go through customs and immigration in a sterile area, have our bags completely rechecked, and not have to leave that sterile area and just go to connect our flights. In fact, if we have connecting baggage, we won't even have to connect and collect our bags. This should be the case in every U.S. international gateway airport. It makes no sense. It's a complete depressing experience, not to mention you'll end up missing your flight, so will your bags. If I'm flying London, Miami, Cleveland, I should be able to come clear customs in Miami, right? Customs and immigration, and then just walk to my gate. not have to go out, get my bags, recheck my bags, and then come back in through security in another long line. Absurd. Now, you mentioned the global entry kiosk not working that well. I have to tell you, I've seen this start to happen at other airports, other U.S. entry gate points, but I will still tell you that, and I think you'll agree, global entry is the best thing to happen since sliced bread for people who travel a lot, and even for those people who travel a little. And I hope they can fix it because it's a system that works. Now, what's really interesting, I had a chat with a government official the other day, is pre-clearance, not pre-check, pre-clearance. Does anybody know what that is? It's been around since 1952. It's in Canada, Bahamas, Bermuda. It's in Ireland. It's in Abu Dhabi. And what it allows you to do is if you're returning home or even coming to the U.S. as a visitor, you clear customs, excuse me, and immigration and passport control and everything, U.S. Customs and Immigration in your foreign port of departure. So you get on a plane in Ireland to come back to the United States. There are U.S. Customs and Immigration officers there, CPP guys and women, who will process you there and tag your bags. Your bags are get tagged by the airline as to your final destination so that when you come back to the United States, you're not going through customs and immigration at all. Your bags connect, you stay within the terminal, and off you go. But that's only in the airports that have pre-clearance. Where do we need it? We need it in airports like Heathrow and Charles de Gaulle and Schiphol in Amsterdam and a number of and Frankfurt. Well, what I just heard from one of the government officials is the UK is almost on board with this. Now, here's how it works. If you want U.S. Customs officers to process passengers overseas, somebody has to pay for them to work there and live there and build those facilities. And the countries that I just mentioned that have it, they paid for it. Abu Dhabi just did it about, 5 or 6 years ago. If the UK is going to do it, you know what that does to cut down on lines for everybody? Now, Amsterdam, they're ready to do it, but there's a little screwdriver in the machinery there. They refuse to allow U.S. agents to either wear handcuffs or carry a weapon. But they're U.S. agents. And so that's the holdup there. The holdup in the UK has the United States signed off on it yet? But more and more of these countries are getting ready because it's a win-win for everybody. Okay, let's keep going here. Hello, Gary. Hello from the Irish Sea on a transatlantic cruise heading to Southampton. Wow, okay. Would that be the Queen Anne? Let me know. Hello, Debbie, down the road in Buffalo. You are down the road in Buffalo. We were just in Buffalo a couple of weeks ago at an amazing place I highly recommend, the National Comedy Center in Jamestown, New York. What an amazing, amazing archive and museum as well. Okay. Now, Gary says, with an around-the-world airfare, you can travel business class for around $10K, not just always on the flights you want. You're absolutely right. Anytime you see a business class fare that's like north of $10,000, go get an RTW ticket. It stands for around the world. You can get it either for 6-month duration or a 1-year duration. The only rule is you have to continue in the direction that you're going, either eastbound or westbound. You can break up the flight in the middle if you want, but you have to still continue in the same direction. It's the most cost-effective way to travel, especially to destinations that are considered expensive for airfares, right? I mean, Los Angeles to Nairobi or Los Angeles to Johannesburg is not an inexpensive fare, even in coach. And you can get an RTW ticket in coach as well. That's one of the solutions. And Gary, thank you for reminding me about that. Jeff says, I'm flying LAX, Hong Kong, Beijing on Cathay Pacific in early September. Do you know if the transfer process in Hong Kong is relatively quick in the early morning? And the answer is, it is. Yeah, the airport in Hong Kong works very well. Okay. Thank you, Barry, for saying you never check a bag. All right. Susan, San Antonio today. And Sid is saying hello from Thailand. Sawadee ka. Okay. Lorraine is saying, please tell me that Clear is going to fix what's broken. 3 years from me, use it frequently, and last 5 times we found ourselves waiting longer than TSA lines. it's the victim of popularity. At certain airports, remember, Clear is not always partnered with an airline. They're partnered with Delta and with United, but not with American. One of the reasons is that both Delta and United are financial investors in Clear. I love Clear. I use it every chance I get. But you got to look what Clear does. When it works, and most of the time it does work, it's great biometrics and it gets you to the front of the pre-check line, and that's all you could ask for. However, at certain airports and at certain terminals and at certain times, the Clear staff is not fully staffed, which means you have to wait for that person to personally walk you through. You can't just go and get your eyes read and go to the TSA person. The beautiful thing is you are escorted to the front of the line, and they need that person to escort you. And that's when things get crazy during crunch times. But you're absolutely right. But we love Clear. Okay, greetings from Uganda. Okay, for travelers interested in, no, this is Crust. It says, for travelers interested in guerrilla trekking and safari in East Africa, check out, well, yeah, they do have great packages, but I'm not going to promote your service here. I'm just going to mention that you just mentioned it. We just came back about 2 months ago from guerrilla trekking in Uganda. It was absolutely amazing. We've done it before, of course, in Rwanda as well. You can also do it in the Congo, but bottom line is it's an expensive ticket. You've got to make a reservation, and you also have to remember that to do it responsibly. And the good guide groups that are doing it is you're only allowed, it's a limited number of people at any one time, and the time is limited to less than an hour, but well worth it. Okay. Priya says, clearly there's a conflict of interest in Boeing. Why can't government force to split Boeing's government military into a separate economy? All right, let's talk about this, okay? Remember the statement, if it's not Boeing, I'm not going? I believed in that. Boeing was a premier engineering company. They were also America's largest export company. But they were an engineering company. They designed in-house, and they innovated in-house, and they built in-house. And then the CFO mentality creeped in after they got McDonnell Douglas. And next thing you know, they're worried about costs. So what's the first thing that happens? They're still designing in-house, and they're still engineering in-house, and they're still innovating in-house, but they're outsourcing a lot of the manufacturing. That started happening with the 787 Dreamliner, which was a disaster in terms of supply chain and inspection and delays. What's even worse now, and this is something that has to be addressed, is they're no longer designing a lot of the stuff in-house. They're no longer engineering a lot of the stuff in-house. They're outsourcing too much with no oversight. If that isn't a recipe for disaster, I don't know what is. That's what's got to be addressed. But you bring in something else about the conflict of interest. How can the Secretary of Transportation and the FAA really come down hard on Boeing, as they should with all manufacturers, but especially with Boeing, because they got a problem. Boeing is the largest military contractor as well. They're not just building airplanes for commercial use. They're building military aircraft, including spaceships. Who's watching the store? The FAA is the real problem here. Is Boeing the problem? Yeah. The real problem, though, is the FAA, because it was the FAA that allowed the bad behavior at Boeing not only to happen, but to continue. So there's a new FAA reauthorization bill. President's hopefully going to sign it in the next couple of days. Is it a good first step? You bet. Does it solve all the problems? Not even close. And we need a strong DOT secretary who can get over the conflict of interest and what it might do to the supply chain, even for our military, by doing the right thing and getting strong, trained, independent inspectors to get on that assembly line. And even before that, in the certification of airworthiness process, to make sure we don't have a repeat of the bad past behavior. If we don't do that, we're just perpetuating the problem. Again, to be fair, we've had the 30 safest years in aviation safety since commercial aviation began. So we really can't improve on that. But the challenge, as I've said time and time again, is how can we maintain that record? And based on what I know now, about what the FAA is doing and what the FAA is not doing. It doesn't mean the FAA doesn't want to do it, but they don't have the staff, they don't have the resources, they don't have the budget. So they're not doing it. And based on what they're not doing, we have a recipe for disaster. That's what's got to be fixed. All right. Cheers from Tucson to Camilla. Okay, Pat says, when checked luggage is handled, possibly lost, is it only the airline's employees who handle it, or do airport employees also handle the bags? Funny you should mention that. Based on the CFO mentality and cost cutting, some airlines outsource the baggage handling, right? They're hiring secondary or tertiary companies, just like they do for catering, right? I mean, just like they do for maintenance, right? I just mentioned, problems with the FAA. There's something called an MRO, maintenance repair operation, right? More and more airlines now are outsourcing that maintenance, not to their own facilities. Like American has a huge maintenance facility in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's the largest employer in the state of Oklahoma, right? American does so much of their maintenance in-house. I support that. Well, more and more airlines now, because of costs, are outsourcing those maintenance jobs, especially the heavy maintenance, the C checks and the D checks, to foreign operators. Now, I have no issue with a foreign operator if they do great work. And we're talking about foreign operations in Salvador and in the Philippines, et cetera, et cetera. But where's the oversight? Where are the FAA inspectors on those on the premises to oversee what's going on? And the answer is they're not there, right? And if an FAA inspector wants to go and inspect the work under current FAA policy, he or she has to have a valid reason to go. Wait a minute, I have a valid reason to go to do the inspection, right? You don't have to say there's a problem to basically want to inspect to see if there's a problem. So there's that gray area, which keeps a lot of inspectors from going. But I'm going to go one step further and now get you angry. If an FAA inspector does get permission to go, do you know what the policy is at the FAA? They have to alert that MRO overseas and give them at least a 7-day notice that they're coming. That's like the health department telling the restaurant we're going to inspect the kitchen in a week. Accomplishes absolutely nothing. It's garbage. That has to be fixed. Okay. Gary says he's on the NCL getaway from New York City. We still have Amsterdam and Le Havre before Southampton. Oh, lovely. I love that. Okay. Nice to do that. All right. Now, let's go to the photo of the week. I've been waiting for this one. Look at this. Congratulations to Linda Leibrock. She writes, the littlest penguins in their burrow on Phillip Island, Australia. They're blue and white, not black and white for camouflage, right? Here it is, survival of it's Darwin time. They spend 3 weeks at a time at sea getting food. They sleep on their bellies. The blue camouflages them from airborne predators, and their white bellies camouflages them from sharks. And boy, can they swim fast. All right, Linda, congratulations for being our photo of the week. And if you think your photo qualifies, you know what to do. Just send it in to photocontest@petergreenberg.com. One more little housekeeping note before I get to more of your questions. Premiering in just a couple of weeks is our next in our hidden series. You know, let me tell you about the series. We have a motto for these series. They're 1-hour global television specials on destinations with the following MO. No gift shop, no tour bus, no brochures, no guidebooks, no TripAdvisor stickers. I'm taking you to the most amazing experiences in these destinations that nobody knows about, but that are actually accessible to you. And coming up, we've done hidden Ireland, hidden Saudi Arabia, hidden Canary Islands. We've done hidden Turkey, hidden Poland, hidden Aegean. We've done hidden Uganda. And coming up in the next couple of weeks, hidden Belize. Take a look. Most people think they know it for its gorgeous beaches, great diving, and a vast seacoast. But most people don't know it. So get ready. Are you scared? Yes. To feel the rhythm, then get up close and personal in the jungle. And then a deep dive into a history of mythical proportions. And yeah, you're going to get wet too. I'm Peter Greenberg, and welcome to Hidden Belize. And I hope you get a chance to catch that special. By the way, all the other specials I've mentioned, with the exception of Uganda, which is going to actually premiere after Belize, are available on Amazon Prime and Apple TV Plus. And of course, check your local PBS stations for the airings or the repeat airings of all those other shows. And of course, the one that's coming up on Hidden Belize. Let's go to some of your questions here. Lisa writes, I hate to complain because I'm making new friends, but ORD, Chicago, is empty and everything is closed. What time did you write this to me, Lisa? Does United offer a voucher to cover the fact that, we have a 6-hour delay? I'm Jazz Fest bound with a bunch of pissed off passengers. I get it. Look, airports that want to claim that they're 24 hours a day should have concessionaires that are open 24 hours a day. Simple as that. Delays are going to happen. And people need to eat. They need to hydrate, and they also need to sleep. You ever notice? And by the way, I first noticed this at O'Hare when I was in college at the University of Wisconsin, and of course, I was sleeping at airports a lot in those days trying to make connections. All those chairs at the departure gates, they all have immovable armrests, so you can't sleep unless you want to sleep sitting up. It's not a welcome idea. I wish they'd come up with better seating, but you're right about that. It's not just United, it's the airport itself. I would like to suggest that if an airport's going to make a deal with a concessionaire and they're an international gateway airport and not, Paducah, Kentucky, that has one last flight at 6 o'clock in the evening and then the next one not till 6 in the morning. But if it's an international gateway airport, if it's JFK, if it's Newark, if it's O'Hare, if it's Atlanta, if it's Dallas, if it's LA, if it's San Francisco, you want a concessionaire contract at the airport, you got to be open 24 a day. And not only that, airport workers are there 24 hours a day. They have to eat too. Anyway, thank you for that question. You're absolutely right. Meg says, I don't get why Southwest charges people to be in the A seating now when I was in the C and still got a window and had overhead space. It's all about the upsell these days. Yes, for the moment, Southwest still has the A, B, and C boarding groups. But if you want priority boarding, meaning to be able to board with the A team, you pay a little surcharge for that. Depends on how crowded the flight's going to be. And if I get to the gate and I'm flying Southwest, the first question I'm going to ask them, because you go online 24 hours ahead of time and you get your boarding pass with your letter and your number, right? So I'll go up to the gate agent and say, are you full today? He says, no, I got 40 empty seats. Then you know what? I'm not going to pay a surcharge to upgrade. We're all going on the same flight anyway. But stand by on that one because Meg, Southwest may be announcing soon there will be upgraded seats, meaning more legroom at the front of the plane. And when that happens, the A, B, and C groups go bye-bye because you can't do open seating anymore. We'll know more about that in the next couple of weeks. Okay, let's go to, here's one from Tyler. I've been reading on multiple threads that police in Europe, especially in Italy, can randomly stop you asking to see your passport, and they want to see the original, no printout or digital copy. We, like everyone else, really don't want to carry our passport on us everywhere when exploring the cities, but apparently this law is exercised quite often in Italy. Well, it may be exercised because they're worried about illegal immigration, and Italy's got a problem, as do many European countries. My suggestion is I always travel with my passport. But how do you travel with your passport? Do you put it in your back pocket? No. Pickpockets love that area. Do you put it in your front pocket? No. What you do is you put it where? You put it in either one of your money pouches or you put it in a pouch that you can zip, right? Like a waterproof pouch that you put in a zippered pocket, right? A lot of cargo pants have that. That's what I do. All right, let's keep going. Gertie says, I'm going to Marseille on a cruise. Should I leave town on an excursion all day long, or is there anything in the city worth seeing? I like historic neighborhoods and delicious bakeries. Well, you've come to the right place. Marseille has really transformed itself. It's no longer the old city of the French Connection, for those people who remember that movie. Marseille is a great seaport town now, unbelievable restaurants and historic buildings. In fact, The Intercontinental Hotel there, and sort of like at the top of the city, it overlooks the harbor. It's the old former hospital. They've done a great job of renovation and restoration, but so many places you can walk to, so many great places, museums, and even just go out and rent a boat and go around the harbor. Yeah, so you don't have to do an all-day tour. Now, there are other places to see around Marseille if you want to do that, and I'm surprised that your cruise line's not giving you a half-day tour. But if you just want to stay in Marseille, you will not be disappointed. Okay, Ryan asked a very interesting question. Do multi-city flights commonly trigger SSSS? I will have limited time and I don't want to miss my flight back home. All right. First of all, let me explain to people who don't understand what a multi-city flight is. It's like going New York to Chicago, Phoenix, as opposed to New York, Phoenix and back, right? Or it could also mean an open jaw ticket like New York, Chicago, Boston, right? You don't complete the last part of the jaw. Let me tell you what SSSS means if you see it on your boarding pass. It means you've been selected for secondary screening, right? Usually at random, but not necessarily. The old profiles put into the algorithms put into the TSA computers will trigger a 4 S's on your boarding pass if you made your reservation within 24 hours and if it's a one-way ticket or not completing the ticket, meaning even a multi-city ticket can complete the ticket, right? You're still returning home to where you want to go or you're returning. But if it's a one-way ticket with a reservation made within 24 hours, or if you paid cash, I don't know anybody who does that anymore, it triggers the quadruple S's. All right, now you know. Ed says, traveling to Cairo on Wednesday as an American tourist, any thoughts on safety in the current environment? Yeah, I have no issues with safety in the current environment in Cairo. In fact, Anthony, who's doing the boards today for us in Los Angeles, Anthony's on a flight tonight to Cairo because we are now beginning to put our production together on our next Hidden series, Hidden Egypt, and I'll be over there soon shooting it. Look, it gets back to situational awareness and common sense. When you take a country like Egypt, which is so dependent on travel and tourism as an economic driver and a job creator, you cannot afford any incidents. And right now, nothing's going on. And even if something's going on, it would be isolated. It has never stopped me from going to Egypt. I'm not one of those scared Americans who, hears that somebody tore a fingernail and then I go, dig a hole somewhere. No. I would go to Israel today. I would. I would go to Jordan today. I would even go to Lebanon today. And my last name is Greenberg. I would not go to Syria today. Obviously not planning any trips to Gaza right now. But right now, I don't have a problem in Egypt. And again, if you don't have to take my word for it. Do what I suggested. Go to the British Foreign Office, see what they're saying to their citizens, see what the United States State Department is saying to our citizens, and then get the English language newspaper that's published every day in Cairo and read the last 4 weeks. Then you can answer that question for yourself. Whitney says, my partner and I are visiting South America for the first time in late October to late November. We will be flying into Rio from London, spending 2 full days there before heading off to Iguazu. Where's the best place for us to stay in Rio? But let me back up on anything. Remember I talked about the RTW ticket? I mean, that's a perfect example of where you want an RTW ticket. And I'm assuming you didn't tell me where you're flying back to or where you're flying from in the United States, but you should check out an RTW ticket that might save you significant money over doing point-to-point tickets, first to London, then to Rio, and et cetera, et cetera. All right. Bottom line is you're going at an interesting shoulder time of the year because it's their spring, right? Southern hemisphere. The weather should be a little cold, but pretty good. And you want to know what? I'm reading here again. Oh, where's the best place for us to stay in Rio? Well, if you've never been to Rio before, whether it's Copacabana or Ipanema, if you want to stay close to the beach, you're going to pay a premium for that. 1 block away, the price drops dramatically, just like it does in Hawaii. 1 block from Kalakaua Avenue in Honolulu, and you're on Kuhio, price drops. Same thing in Rio. You're going at a good time of the year. It's not going to be overly crowded. If you went after, like the middle of November, it's hugely crowded because of the summer weather. But you can get very good deals a block off the beach and not on the beach. And that's what I'd suggest. Okay. All right. Now let's scroll down and say hello to a few more people here. Hold on a second. I'm going back up here. Give me 1 second. Lorraine says, I think Clear is definitely understaffed. And at certain airports, I'd have to agree with you. Okay. Oh, and Colleen says, the nighttime arrival of the little penguins on Phillips Island in Australia, remember our photo of the week, is from the water to their burrows is one of the sweetest experiences I've had. Excellent photo. Okay. Michael liked my sizzle reel on hidden Belize. Thank you. Priya says, being a New Yorker, can you recommend any hidden gems in or around New York City? Gee, Priya, could you be any more general? There are over 19,000 restaurants in New York City. I need a little bit more specific in the question, and then we can talk about it. Harriet and Jim are usually first up on my list this week. You came in last, but you're on your way to Florida. Nice to hear from you guys. I really appreciate it. Okay, a couple of housekeeping notes. Again, I can't give a shout out loud enough to the folks here at the Eastman House here in Rochester, New York. You got to come visit this place. It's way beyond the Brownie cameras I showed you. Second of all, the Strong Museum of Play. Wow. That's all I can tell you. I mean, you not only get to relive your childhood, I mean, you get to interactively relive it. And it's amazing. And of course, the rest of Rochester, which has, by the way, 140 separate festivals a year. You know what's coming up in the next 3 weeks? The Lilac Festival, but they do it well. In any case, remember, Ion Travel airing this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Time. If you can't get a market in your neighborhood, not a problem. Just go to our website, petergreenberg.com. We stream it live. Again, going about 10:05 in the morning after all the stations do their news and weather and traffic. And I hope you'll join us then. I'm off and running, and I'll see you next week from a distant location somewhere around the world. And I'll give you a hint. It won't be Egypt, and it won't be, well, you'll just have to wait and see. But it'll be somewhere around the world. How about that for being general? Have a great rest of the week, everybody. Happy May 8th. Can't believe it's May 8th already. And I will see you guys next week. Thank you, Anthony. Have a good flight to Cairo. I'll see you in Egypt too as well. But it won't be next week for me. Bye, everybody.